First tiebreaker, and MYM, I gotta say, fantastic pulling it together, maybe even leading up in the last couple of weeks and now coming to fruition here, albeit just at the end.
Well, full respect for MeetYourMakers. If you go a few weeks back, they looked like they were done. That's it. They were losing nearly every single game. They had so many problems coming into this, but remember Corey, he left the day before the LCS started. And they had to play with Blizzard for 2 weeks, then he came back, and there were so many problems. And yet they managed to bounce back here. Noxia coming in, Yamato Cannon, of course, running the show as a coach. Full credit to them. They deserve this one. Now they just gotta make it count against Giants. That's the big one.
And build on what they have done in this game, let's quickly touch on the things that went right for them. And I want to pull up the replay of the very first big fight they win. They get 3 kills in this fight, and it gets them going for the whole game.
Right. So the setup here is kind of weird for ROCCAT because they know that Corey is standing on the bottom side of the map. There's a pink ward. He's standing in this tri-bush. And not a single guy in ROCCAT says, okay, let's place a ward at least down towards the south side of the river so we can see when he's coming in. So if you just roll the clip, we're going to see how they suddenly get forced down towards the bottom side of the map by MeetYourMakers. Then they're coming with the 4 guys on the top side. And almost like they forget Ari sitting there and get caught out. Jankos just dies instantly. They all collapse onto Corey here, but he managed to escape. And now the big tanks coming in for MeetYourMakers. So this was simply just a very poor setup where you allow MeetYourMakers to get a flank on you and you have 0 response for it.
Yeah. And as the game went on, they did get a little bit reluctant. MYM, a little bit afraid maybe to not make the wrong decision, but who can fault them for that?
Yeah, they were reluctant to make the wrong decision, but at the same time, everything from MYM, pretty much from picks and bans, was fairly safe when you look at it. They weren't pushing the boat out, not trying any new picks. They picked 2 tanks, an AD carry we know Rales can play, and everything was just kind of straightforward for MYM. So they've kind of looked at where they have to play and what champions they need, and they've just put their players on those champions for this game, and it's worked out very well.
And I gotta say, I still find it weird how ROCCAT sets up their competitions. Because Overpow has not been a carry top laner. He's been, you know, he's transitioned from mid lane, so it's tough for him to get into the groove of the top lane, clearly. Stop putting him on carries like Aurelia, like Java, and put him on a tank, a supportive top laner instead. JWoww here, who's still fairly new to the LCS, put him on Maokai for MeetYourMakers, works so much better. And at the same time, you keep giving these immobile carries to Woolite, who's a guy who had trouble positioning correctly. So it feels like in pick and bans and the way they set up their comp, it makes it a lot harder for ROCCAT to do well. And that's also why they lose to a team like MeetYourMakers now.
Yeah, it makes me think of when we talked to Dentist from the Copenhagen Wolves at the beginning of the split when he said, you got to look at your players and not just see what role they are playing, but what they can do in that role. If you're a top laner but not a carry, that's absolutely fine. You're going to make yourself useful in different aspects of the game. I feel like that's maybe the guidance that ROCCAT needs.
It seems like it for sure, but now it's too late. Because they're down in promotion tournament, and it's not even like you look at ROCCAT's games and you say, oh, they're just unlucky. They were unlucky in a few games and lost it. No, it's been fairly one-sided games whenever they do lose. They have looked good in certain compositions. I mean, whenever they protect Woolite enough, they have pull out a few wins, and whenever Nuke Dog had a good start to the game as well. So there's still hope. I think in the promotion tournament, they're going to be fine. I mean, you know more about the challenger teams. Do you think there's anyone outside of maybe Origin who can challenge ROCCAT?
I think one of the biggest underdog stories in Challenger has been the Lowland Lions and how they've pretty much stolen second place from every team that thought they had it. And, you know, Lowland Lions, they're a little unorthodox. They have a carry top laner in Morsu. That could very easily tear apart, you know, ROCCAT, and especially if Overpow's not feeling too comfortable in that role. That could potentially be a matchup that we might see. Yeah,
they're rewatching this game, and it's back to the drawing board for ROCCAT after a disappointing split. Not much more to say about that. And Elements, they are now in 7th, means we will definitely see them next split, but again, for them also to the drawing board, because it just hasn't been a success story for neither of these teams. Coming up, though, the Unicorns of Love could have a chance to contest the number 4 playoff seed, but first, they'll need to take a win off H2K Gaming. Stay tuned and see what happens when we return.
Particular game for MeetYourMakers is super important. If they do not win, they will be in that automatic relegation. And he said he sights on Jankos.
Yes, he has, and he might have gotten him. Yep, he does. Now, can he make his escape? Oh, that is a good solar flare down.
Yeah, back out a little bit. Nice. Drake.
41 minutes into the game, knocking on the Nexus. Can Woolite try to push them back? It doesn't look like it. MeetYourMakers forcing the 9th place tiebreaker with Giants Gaming.